right, so my name is Nathan Baskin. I like to help people. You can define me as someone that I can start over. My name is Nathan Baskin.
But you gotta stand up and do it.
Oh, okay.
We gotta get you uncomfortable in this room.
No, it's not uncomfortable.
You're a lot taller than you look in person.
Oh, in person I'm taller.
But we gotta look at this camera. Tell this camera who you are
Okay.
with confidence.
All right. My name's Nathan Baskin. Oh, you see?
Let's go, buddy. Let's go. Let's go. Go for it. Let's go. Let me hear it.
My name is Nathan Baskin. You can define me as a helpful person. I like to help in all elements, especially when it comes to working and making sure in my line of work, which is being a portfolio manager. And I want to make sure that everyone has the best deal possible. And at the end of the day, I want to make sure that everyone gets what they want regarding my work. And I want to go down as being someone that can help get any deal done.
All right. Let's give him a hand here. Meet Steven. Steven, meet Nathan.
How are you, Nathan?
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
He had the fortunate distinction of taking me years ago, effective selling downstairs,
Second floor, yeah?
first floor.
First floor, yeah?
First floor. My first semester, right here, I'll never forget where he sat. Always sat in the same spot right here.
Yeah.
Well, good to see you.
Great to see you.
Welcome back.
Great to be
So you
back.
guys, I thought would be a very good matchup today. A, we're here, but B, you guys are kind of on the same track as far as what we've been talking about
Nice.
one-on-one. So to bring you guys together, go over some mindset, go over some other things, focus, consistency, all of those things that we talk about. I figure we can go any direction that you guys want to go for the next couple hours.
Excellent.
That cool?
Excellent,
Yes.
Yeah.
excellent,
So
excellent.
you just heard a great elevator pitch right here. I would be remiss if we didn't hear yours.
I'm Steven Amitai from Bogota, Colombia. 24 years old now, managing the US division of our family business, specialized in sustainable textiles for apparel and home furnishings. And really excited to be here, learning about leadership and developing our skills.
Awesome. All right. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to do yours again. Okay. But I want you to do it this time, and I want you to do it with utmost confidence.
Right.
Right. So confidence is key in selling, and we can listen to Roger McNamara define what confidence means when we talk about selling and sales. Okay. Because if you don't have confidence in your product, if you don't have confidence in yourself, you're not going to make a sale. Is that true? Right. So confidence is something that people look for.
Mhm.
So when you're describing yourself and you're doing an elevator pitch, it's not so much that you're doing a pitch in an elevator. Right, an elevator pitch is really key because it means that you can communicate with anybody at any given moment, at any given time. Fair enough?
Yeah.
So in order to do that, you have to do it confidently. Like portfolio management is what interests you. How does that come across confidently to somebody?
Mhm.
Right? You're telling somebody about you, who you are as an individual, textile, a family business. Right? Confidently describe who you are. Let me hear it again.
All right. So my name's Nathan Baskin. I could define myself as one word to define myself as someone who's helpful. I like to help people in all aspects. In my day-to-day life, I work in portfolio management and lending. I like to help people get the best deal possible for them. And I want to make sure at the end of the day, they will recommend me and they will know me as someone who will work with them to get their results and to close their deal any way that they can.
All right. Steven, what do you think of that? Honest feedback.
Great. Very descriptive.
Yep.
Very complete. Maybe a little bit too long. Maybe 10 to 15 seconds too long. But the message is clear on what you do, on how you want to help the community, the people around you in your personal and professional life. Just keep it a little bit shorter.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
We'll practice again. Confidently. Who are you?
I'm Steven Amitai. I'm from Bogota, Colombia. I'm now running our US division of our family business focused in textiles for apparel and home furnishings. I'm here to provide more than products, high-level service that focuses on fostering success and profitability in your businesses.
Confidently tell me about the textile industry, 30 seconds or less.
The textile industry is accounting for the second most polluting industry in the world after the oil industry. We're here to change that by providing sustainable materials that focus on the benefit and the better for the people and the planet.
Okay, tell me about portfolio management and why is that important to you? Why is that important to you deep down?
Well, going down, I love financial analysis, financial statement analysis, and I like to look at understanding debt service coverage ratios, balance sheets for customers, income statements, and I have a portfolio of work that I'm working on, and there's current portfolios, and I like to understand and make sure that the clients who currently have a portfolio in my institution are doing well. And I'm also have such a passion for looking at all different aspects of financial statement analysis. So that's how I like to connect the two dots.
Okay, a couple of key words that came out in both of yours, but specifically yours was passion and helpful, right?
Yep.
Those words came out. What words came out to you in yours?
Success,
Yeah.
service. I would say those two.
All right, success, service, family run business.
Family.
Knowing your history, knowing your grandfather, knowing your father, how involved they were in the company, how involved they are in the company, that should come out as well. Because every single elevator pitch that you come across, whether it's myself.
My name is Zev Young.
Right?
I'm an adjunct professor at Bentley University. I love to coach. I have a passion for sales. I love everything about the sales process. One thing I love to do is see people walk out of my classes and have success. It's one of the most important things to me. If I could give myself one word, it would be coach. I love to coach people. I love to level them up. And I love to follow through with them and make sure that they're maximizing their potential. Done.
So what word came out in that elevator pitch?
For coach,
Coach,
Success.
okay?
maximize potential
Maximize potential for who? For me or for,
for whoever you're coaching.
okay? What else?
Coach.
Right? We said that. Right? So 3 things that identifiably I can leave somebody with. Every single chance I have an opportunity to communicate with anybody, whether it's in an elevator or whether it's not in an elevator, if it's a conversation, those are 3 identifiable pieces I want to leave somebody with. Right? So you have a little bit of a different interest than I do,
Right.
certainly from a numbers perspective. I
Right.
don't know how anybody would love that, but that's you. That's who you are as an individual.
Right,
That's not to say that it's wrong or it's not right or anything,
right.
but what are the 3 points that you want to leave that are identifiable with you when you leave somebody?
Well, in terms of numbers, they have to understand that like I have a passion for it. I love looking and reviewing financial statements. Like I like to see how profitable a human is, or I like when I look at their financial statements, like their tax returns. For me, it's a story of how they're doing as a, like if they can afford the loan, if they can't afford the loan. And for me, the whole reason I like to crunch these numbers is it goes down. It's like every single day, I'm like, can they actually afford what we're selling to them?
All right, so let's do this. You have a piece of paper?
I do.
All right, have a seat. You got a piece of paper right there. I want you to listen to this right here real quick. Okay? This was taken from my class, not last week, the week prior, okay? So listen to Roger's words here. And then what I want you guys to do is I want you to think of your 3 key words that you want to leave somebody with. I want you to write those 3 words down like you were, and I want you to develop a better, more intricate elevator pitch, right? How do you communicate who you are as an individual? Listen to Roger's words here.
And by the way, I will tell you this, you know, you hear the term elevator pitch, and I will tell you that once in my career, I actually was in an elevator and the CEO of a company walked in. I wasn't actually in the business to meet him, but walked in, and the elevator was on the 35th floor. And by the time it got to the bottom, I pitched him my product and service. He handed me his business card on the way out and told me that if there were ever any problems with his folks in the process of selling, that I should give him a call. We closed the deal within about 3 weeks after that. So anybody who tells you that an elevator pitch is pie in the sky, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's obviously in an elevator, but being ready to communicate at any time the value of the products and goods that you sell or services you sell is paramount, because that could happen anywhere and anytime. Just happened for me once in an elevator.
So listen to those words right here, guys.
Communicate.
This is the most important
but
part.
being ready.
So much that you're in an elevator. The most important thing that you can learn from a sales coach or a sales coaching apparatus is how to better communicate who you are. Essentially, that's what sales is. If you break down, I put this on LinkedIn this morning, sales can be broken down into 4 core key strategies: communicate, operate, relate, evaluate, right? CORE. Communicate. How best do we communicate? Operate. What do we do each and every day to operate? Relate. How do we relate to people? And finally, how do we evaluate what we're doing? What does that sound like? What does that look like? What does that feel like? If we go back here real quick, there's a reason why that is important. There's the one that I wanted to show you guys. Where's GrabCo? Is this GrabCo? Yeah, this is it.
How'd you meet Zev, and why is that important to sales?
Oh, wow. So Taryn was playing a game at BU at Walter Brown, and the game was delayed for some reason because I think Zev's kids were out on the ice. And I don't know why, but I was down underneath, and typical Zev fashion, I walked by him and Zev started a conversation with me. Simple as that. And we started to talk back and forth, and he told me, you know, Zev gave me his elevator pitch underneath Walter Brown in 30 seconds. And I was like, this dude is off the charts. I got to know him. I said, I'll hook up with you on LinkedIn when I get home. I gave him, we contacted on LinkedIn, and it's been a bromance ever since. So that's how stuff happens.
So think about that from our perspective, right? That's how things happen in life. How we communicate is how things happen in life. So what are those 3 words that you're identifying right now?
The ones that we just talked, communicate and operate, really.
No, your 3 words.
Oh, that I talk in my elevator pitch?
Yeah.
Well, helpfulness,
All right, so helpful.
and then I want them to understand that I have a passion. And then I want them to know that that leads to results.
Let me see if I can write this here. All right, that's Nathan. What are yours?
Family, success, sustainability.
Why is that last one important to you?
I look at it at a 360-degree level. On one end, you have the environment, which is where the business is different than other companies in the same field. On the other end, the people around, all the stakeholders around, how you help your employees be better and have a better income, how you help your customers be better every day, how you help your suppliers be better every day by being a better customer yourself, and how you drive growth for the next years and generations to come.
All right, so thank you for that. What I would do is take the next couple minutes. All right, think about these 3 words. Think about what they mean to you. Think about passion, right? Because this is a word that you've used right here, Nathan.
Mhm.
How does passion come out in what you do and how you communicate with people? Now, again, we're going from a sales guy, right? Sales is a little bit more passionate than looking at numbers and looking at portfolio management.
Mhm.
I get that. How do you bring that passion out and talking about that? Because I think what you're doing is you're here, right?
Mhm.
You're here. That story's gonna come out a little bit more.
Mhm.
When you communicate who you are and what you're passionate about, that has to come out more. Right? Monotone. Yeah. When you're doing your elevator pitch, you have to have some sort of, hey, listen, I'm Zeb Young. I'm an adjunct professor at Bentley University. I love to coach people. I love to help people. I get so much joy in seeing people walk out of my class where they can level up. That oozes energy, oozes passion, right? Even if you're talking about portfolio management, textile industry, sustainability, there has to be something there where it moves people to an emotional response.
Mhm.
Moves people to an emotional response. When I think about the 6 IBs, right? Impact behaviors in selling. Number 4 is storytelling / emotive response. So how does that come out when you communicate who you are as an individual? Right? What's the story behind who you are? This will all dovetail well with what we're going to talk about from a mindset perspective. But guys, if you can't communicate who you are, you can't communicate what your product is, you can't communicate your vision to your teams, and you certainly can't communicate what the portfolio management is going to be towards your clients.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? So this is an ongoing process where you constantly have to figure out who you are. Right? And we've talked about this on both of our Zoom calls. So take a couple minutes, think about these words, and we'll do this one more time from an elevator pitch perspective and see if we nail it this time. You good, Steve? Stephen?
Good.
All right, so think about this, right? The reason why we do this, there's been plenty of books that have been written about this. There's been plenty of ebooks that can talk about elevator pitches. The whole goal from an elevator pitch, if you look down further, and this is to get the other person talking more. That sounds very similar to a sales call, right? That sounds very similar to what you want to do and what you want to accomplish on a sales call. When you're in front of clients, when you're in front of your team, you want them to be talking more. When you have a client in front of you talking about portfolio management, you want them to share with you more information so that way you can best put them in the best product, correct?
Mhm.
Same thing for you. When you're going out and you're pitching your textile industry or your products, you want people that are gonna listen, you wanna talk less, you want to be able to communicate better for all of your clients. It starts with who you are. So let me hear your elevator pitch one more time.
I'm Stephen Amitai from Bogota, Colombia. Operating now my family business in a new division in the United States. I'm passionate about driving success in your business through inspiring sustainability and innovation.
Awesome. All right, a little bit different than the first time.
Mhm.
Did you notice a difference?
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit more succinct. How'd that feel?
Better.
A little bit better? Right, a little bit more succinct. Think you could still draw on a little bit more sustainability. Why is that a passion of yours? Why is sustainability a passion? Because you can throw out a word, but if it doesn't land well with somebody,
Yep, he
There's
added the
just
word
a word.
passion.
all right,
He added
right?
the word passion, yeah.
So you're passionate about it,
inspiring.
okay? Love it.
All right, so my name's Nathan Baskin. I'm a portfolio manager at Northeastern Savings Bank. One word that you can define me is someone who's helpful. I like to help all clients in all aspects. I also have a passion for financial statement analysis. When I do look and review all of the financial statements, my result my end goal is to bring excellent results and I want you or anyone to get approved for the loan. And that just brings joy to me when they get approved.
A little bit different than the first time,
Right?
right? A little bit different.
I had a joy too, but yeah,
You what?
I had a joy.
Keep those words in there. I can't tell you guys how many times I've been in front of people that are at interviews, people that are at pitches, people that I work with, people that work for me, and they don't ooze that confidence or that passion.
His hand motion's okay when it comes to that, like.
It depends. And the reason why is you watched Soraya Gutman's
Yeah,
talk based upon how you can read people within a minute,
yep,
right? So hand gestures are great, but if you're going up against somebody that is identifiable as a German,
right,
as far as a personality trait, we didn't cover this in our class. This is a later thing.
hands open.
Yeah, so if you have somebody that's more gregarious and you're reading their body language, it's certainly okay to be there and talk like they do.
Right,
If you're meeting a German, quote unquote,
right,
and they're very rigid
Right.
and they're very driver oriented from a
Right.
disc personality perspective, you probably don't want to go up to them and be like, hey, let's talk a little bit about, you have to look at the person
I know you're right.
and know your audience. Comes back to emotional intelligence. It comes back to self-awareness, comes back to body language. It comes back to all those things, right? The top 1% of salespeople know this. And like we've talked about in our class, those sales professionals have to read a room, right, within a nanosecond. Within a nanosecond. I always say that it's like Neo in the Matrix. Right? Think about how he's dodging all those bullets in that scene. That's essentially what we do from a sales perspective. You have to read body language. You have to read cues. You have to read if they're looking at their watch. You have to be mindful of the clock.
Right.
You have to read your cadence. You have to listen to them. You have to look if they, and Roger McNamara does a great job here thinking about how we view and how we look at body language in sales. This is the one.
One question, going to your elevator pitch.
Yeah.
As you teach and coach, now also you have your job in your company. How is that? Because as a student, I see the elevator pitch and I'm fully sold. But how, if you're in front of a customer in the pharmaceutical industry, how does that elevator pitch change? Do you use a different one, or depending on who you speak to?
Of course.
Right.
Of course. And I think that as salespeople, we have that latitude to change the course of who we are, being a chameleon,
Mhm.
right? Knowing what the audience is, knowing what the audience is looking for in the expectation. The expectation is not to go into every single sales call or every interaction and say, hello, I'm Stephen Amitai. I'm passionate about sustainability. No, it's all in conversation, right? It's all in conversation. You can put your elevator pitch in there and they don't even know that you're doing it. They don't even feel that you're doing it. That's what the top 1% salespeople do. If you look at number one, the most important, in my opinion, then the 6 key impact behaviors is customer obsession, customer focused. If you're so customer obsessed and so customer focused, when you're talking to them in a two-way dialogue, not monologue, they don't even know they're being sold to. You've established a relationship, you've established rapport, your listening skills, you're watching their body language, you're watching all this unfold in real time, and then you're able to sit there and you're able to say, all right, this is who I am. This is what my company does.
Right.
This is what my company represents. This is what I can do to help you. Here's a solution. And they don't even know that you're selling them.
And you don't want to make it the same because then they'll think it's like a canned thing.
Of course.
So you want to be direct to them specifically.
I mean, the worst thing that you can do is go in front of every single customer at any point and say the same thing over and over and over.
Right.
You're not a broken record. You're a human. We talked about this last time. Our last session was the humanization of sales, which I think has been lost because of these fucking things that we have right here.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Think about how that lands on a customer, on a client. If you're in front of a client, you're in front of a customer, okay? and you're sitting across the table and you got that out right there. Right? And you're with a customer, not to,
Right,
and the customer is looking at you and this thing's buzzing. Or it's in your pocket and it's buzzing.
right, it's distracting.
How do you think that lands on the customer? Are you there for them? Or are you there for
There
this?
yeah. And then we've talked about that, that's why you leave this thing when you're in a meeting in your cars. Like
All the
that.
time.
Yeah,
Never bring a phone in with me because at the end of the day, this is what's most important.
Be present.
Be present, be where your feet are at, be
Right.
grounded. Every single time before my class on Monday nights, my ask for the students is put your laptops away, put your phones away, put them off. I don't want that for the 3 hours. If you want to go on your phone, you can go right outside that room and do whatever you need to do.
right,
But it's the same thing with customers. My job is to condition my students for the real world.
right,
For when they exit my class, there are certain expectations that are levied against them that they need to know.
100%.
And when you're sitting across the table from a customer, a client, somebody that needs your good or services, you can't be distracted with this shit.
100%.
Can't do it. It's the easiest way to lose a customer. And it's even better if you say, hey, listen, before I even get into a conversation with you, I'm going to put my phone away. I'm going to power it down and put it in my bag. I want to make sure that we have 100% attention.
Yeah,
I want to make sure that my attention is 100% on you. I don't want this to be a distraction to anything that we're doing here.
right,
Is that cool with you?
yeah, 100%.
So think about how that would land on if you sit there like that. You go out to dinner with friends, guys. Where's your phone all the time?
Well, my girlfriend makes me put it the other way.
When 9 times out of 10, if you're out to dinner with friends, where's your phone?
In my pocket,
Or on the table,
on the
Or on the
table,
table,
yeah, yeah.
right? So you're sitting with your friends and your phone is on the table and now all of a sudden you're sitting there and how does that go off with your
Or
friends?
even with, even with family, some of you always have discussions with the family,
Right?
but put the phone away when having quality time in dinner or something.
It's a huge distraction. You know, we deal with it on a daily basis because we have 3 little ones at home and my wife works and I work.
Right,
It's a struggle,
yep,
not only from our perspective, but our kids now have phones.
right,
So in order to bring them and get them to be present, it's the same thing as a sales call. It really is. You need to check yourself, you need to ground yourself, and you need to condition yourself to be present. You can't communicate if none of that is right.
100%.
You can't communicate who Nathan is, who Steven is, if you have exterior distractions.
Right, yeah.
Right? That's what sales is. That's what sales is all about.
And in the workforce, you can't have exterior distractions.
No.
Because they'll yes, they'll treat you like an adult because you're an adult. Like technically you're getting paid a salary or hourly, whatever. But like you're responsible for your own actions, obviously. But like there are people who are like always on their phone, but like the best people like, put their phone down or something like that. And yeah, there's emergencies and you can go or whatever. It's
People will understand, but people will respect you more if you put the phone down and you commit to them.
right.
How much, if you look, if you have let's say, 2 buckets in sales, let's say one is product and one is people, how much does product represent? You're working in Novartis. How much does your product and your company drive without talking yet about the rock star that you are, how much does product represent?
So that's a great question. And I think I can give you this as far as a little bit more of a visual, okay? And maybe this is an easier way to show this. I got to give credit where credit is due. Jerry Acuff, this is in his book, by the way, but I think it speaks to what you're talking about. So there's 2 words here.
What's the name of the book?
The Relationship Edge by Jerry Acuff, right? So there's a question on product, right? Versus people. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So let me throw it to you.
Mhm.
What do you think? If you were to answer Steven's question, what do you think, Nathan?
Like how important the product is versus the people of what you're selling. Is that what you're saying?
Was that the basis of the question?
When you're driving a customer to a conversion,
Mhm.
how important is, or what representation in the percentage of success has the product versus the salesperson driving the business?
Oh, I understand what you're saying. Okay, so in my understanding, the product is what you're trying to sell, right? So that's what you're trying to, like, let's say you're in a car sales, okay? And if you're trying to make the person buy a car, right? Your product yourself is the car, but the person and how you're acting towards the audience is as important as the product, because without that person, you don't lead to the product. So like, that's like one thing I was watching with Walter Long. I don't know if you've seen that guy, but he was saying that the big example is like, I have a product that I'm trying to sell, which is HVAC. So like appliances. And he's saying that I guarantee that I have a 1-year policy that if you do not like my product, you can return my product right away and I'll give you your money back. So he's betting on himself because he knows that his way of selling the product is through his like word is good. He's not afraid of losing the business because he knows his product is so good.
So let me listen. I understand your question. Let's listen to this and then we'll tie it all together. Fair? Because I think this might answer your question because there's a couple of really good pearls in here. So the question here is, what is the most valuable sales lesson you would give to someone in starting in sales, marketing, or this sector? Okay. Very, very high level, 30,000 foot view. And I think you've heard this clip before, so save this. But this is basically, all right, what is the most valuable sales lesson that you can give me? Correct? All right, so let's hear what this answer is.
Sophie, my question to the both of you, first of all, thank you for being here. My question would be, what is the most valuable sales lesson you would give to someone who's just starting in sales, marketing? Thank you.
Go ahead, Roger, you want to lead the way on that?
Yeah, no, well, that's a great question, Sophia. You know, I don't know that there's one single thing that you can look at. You know, selling encompasses, and I'm sure Zeb in your class is doing a wonderful job of teaching you what so many don't teach. You know, you think about colleges in this country today, you can go and get a degree in pretty much everything, but yet very few, if any, offer a 4-year degree in sales. And yet, you know, over 46 million people in this country get up every day or engaged in some sort of selling of some kind. So there has to be some merits to the profession. We often gravitate to the lesser ends of sales, but when we sell a valuable product and, you know, we're working for a company and we feel that what we're doing is justified, there are a lot of things that go into that. I've seen Zeb and I've seen a lot of the stuff that he's published, and he's steering you guys in the right direction with relationships and building relationships. But I would add on top of that as well, because that's key to being successful in sales, is be curious, be present. You know, in the world today, so many people are there, but they're not there. You know, having that ability to recognize things, the emotional intelligence is critical. You know, what students learn today in school, you know, may look like theory. When you get out in the real world and you apply this, you'll see that people react in different ways, and you have to be able to adapt to that. Consume knowledge. You know, be direct, be firm. Outwork your opponent. You know, always have options for your clients. These are all things that are extremely important. But the number one thing when I hire salespeople is I want salespeople that are extremely curious, ask questions, you know, want to know what it is that makes your customer tick, because they will buy from people they trust, but they will waste time talking to people that they like. You want them to trust you so that they'll buy from you. So hopefully that gives you some sense of where my head is with this.
Thank you, that was great.
It's one of the most important quotes that you can ever hear.
There's a lot of different kinds of sales, a lot of different kinds.
All right. People will buy from people they trust. They will waste time talking to people that they like. Now, your question originally was based upon product versus people, right? So you're selling a product, but you're also selling yourself. Every single day you sell yourself to someone, to somebody, to something. So yes, I work for Novartis. And yes, I have a product that needs to be sold. But they're not going to buy from me if they don't trust me. They're not going to buy from me if they don't value a business relationship with me, which is different. Right? Which is different. There has to be a distinction between your customer liking you and your customer trusting you or valuing a business relationship with you. Let me throw it back to you guys. What is the distinction between them?
People buy from people they trust and with people they like. What's the difference between those?
Yeah, well, think about that quote. Right? In Jerry Acuff, as I was showing you guys, has this amazing pyramid which shows that the top people, right? If we're talking about product versus people right here, Stephen, which is what you wanted to know, you can go through all of these steps. People who don't know me by name, right? People who don't know who I am. I'm walking in, I'm Stephen Amitai. I work for a textile industry. You don't even know who I am. This is your first step as far as who you are. This is your first client that comes in that has no idea that you know portfolio management. Right? So what does this step feel like for you guys? What does this step feel like? What do you do in this step right here?
You introduce yourself.
Okay, you introduce yourself. What else can you do in this step right here where people who don't even know you? What did we just work on for the first 20 minutes of this class?
Elevator.
Right, so you're working on how you communicate effectively with these clients right here. So it's not about the product at this particular juncture. You're talking about how we communicate with people.
Sit down with the people.
Okay, so now you get to a situation where these folks right here, who you didn't even know, who didn't even know you, you might have just gone in there and you might have just did a pitch. Hey, this is an initial sales call, right? You're getting to know each other. You're waltzing, right? So this is initial phone call or sales call where you're getting to know this person. Now they know you. Now they know you.
Mhm.
Right, so now you're at this step right here where people who know you by your name.
Yep.
What's this relationship like now?
It's more direct. It's more like, since they know your name, they feel more comfortable with you, but you haven't got to the next step
Right.
yet.
Do you agree? Anything you would add? So this is a more direct line, right? What else? What else would you add there?
You haven't driven confidence. You haven't driven knowledge. You haven't demonstrated emotional intelligence yet on who you are and how passionate you are. It's still, you're dating
You did. You're
Yeah.
early on in the process.
early on.
Now, in these two steps right here, because you mentioned it, can you or could you enter in your product or your goods or services? Or is it too early in the process to do that?
It's too early.
What do you think?
I think heading from 2 to 3, you introduce the product.
Okay.
If they know you by name, I believe you can already introduce your product. And then you can start to dig into the relationship where, you know, people like each other, value each other. And then,
Okay, so right here is kind of where your sweet spot is, all right, I can start talking about my product. Nathan, would you agree with that?
Yeah, but it's interesting because it says people who know you by name. Do they also know you as a salesperson? Because I don't like to go back, but in the video that I watched this week on Walter Long, he says that they know me as a salesperson, so they know who I am at the general. So I have to get to the close. So
But let me stop you right there. That's okay. That's okay, being a sales professional. That's fine. People know by now when I go in with one of my reps, the company I represent,
Yep.
the product line I represent, and what we're there for.
right,
Again, we talk about the humanization of sales and selling.
Yep.
They know when we walk in the door, why we're walking in that door.
exactly,
We're not selling pet food.
right,
You know, we're not selling eye care. We're selling Cosmetics. and we're walking into dermatology practices.
Right.
So when you walk in or somebody comes up to your table, you best believe that they know what your role and function is.
Exactly.
And you best believe that the people that you're talking to know what your role and function is, especially, as Steven said, if you're already at this stage.
Yeah.
And also know what their role and function is in the company.
Right.
It's very different talking to a buyer, just a standard buyer, than to maybe an owner of a company, or maybe.
Totally. But this also goes to your point. So you're only gonna find that stuff out if you're doing this dance, if you're dating,
Mhm.
right? If you're talking to them. Now, this here, I feel like I'm doing the telestrator, like Belichick here. But this here only happens if they like you, right? If you can communicate with them, if you're providing value to what they do, and if you're identifying pain points that exist. Correct?
Mhm.
All right, so we've done this one, we've done this one. Now you got this person right here who really, really loves sustainability, who really loves the rates that you can give them on their portfolio management or whatnot. So now these people like you. And I think you guys are smart enough to know when people like you,
Mhm.
right? I hope at this point we go towards emotional intelligence, self-awareness, reading body language. If you're walking in the door and you see a client and that client's like, yeah, I'm out of here, I'll see you later. Does that mean that they like you?
No.
No. So this is a stage right here where you know that this person likes you. And from a sales and selling perspective, this right here, gentlemen, this right here is your sweet spot. Okay, this is where you can basically utilize your relationship building and your skills in order to get to where you need to go.
But you still don't know if they're waste, because they like you, right? And
Yeah.
the quote is you waste time with people they like. So you can get entrapped in the Pandora's box here, but not get to the next level.
So this whole pyramid talks about how you get to this next level.
Right.
You can't get to that level from here.
Right, yeah.
So the dance and the marriage and the relationship that you have with these folks is you've already gone through the initial, you've communicated, they know you by name, they like you. They like you. You're halfway there right now. Right? They're vibing with you. And now you come in and now you're like, what's that?
Can I take a picture?
Of course. And now you come in, maybe this is your fourth call or whatnot, right? And now you're talking to them, all right, they like you, they're being more friendly with
That
you.
was my other question. What about time? If you look at the pyramid, I don't know, you say from box 1 to box 2, it can be anywhere from 1 day to 1 week. What do the other steps take time-wise?
I mean, look, we can't sit here and say from this interval right here to that interval right here, there's a predetermined time. Your sales cycle and how you build a relationship might be completely different than your counterpart and how they build a relationship.
Right.
Might be completely different from them. My sales cycle might be completely different than another representative or another industry. So to pinpoint and say that this takes a year, I can't do that. And you can't do that. That's not fair to you. It also is pre-dependent on what?
How you get to each step.
It's dependent on that person. It's dependent on the customer. Remember, the customer is at the center of everything that we do.
Right.
So if you push this and you force this, what happens?
You don't finish the process.
Okay, you don't finish the process. What else can you do? What else happens if you force this?
You burn the customer.
You burn the customer. What else?
You show a big need.
You show a big need, but what is the repercussions of pushing this on the customer from here too quickly can result in what?
Result in people saying word of mouth.
Catastrophic loss. Meaning you don't get the sale.
Right, but then you don't just get the sale. They might tell their friends or someone else. Like if you want to bring their like, oh, don't trust Zev or whatever. He like rushed too quickly. He's too much of like overwhelming and like too much,
Totally.
yeah.
100%. And that's a great call out. That goes towards EI. That goes towards self-awareness. That goes towards questioning, listening. All of the skills, the soft selling skills that we think about from a sales competency perspective can all be missed if you rush this process. That's what sales is. So you asked, the original question was about product versus people, right? You might have the greatest product in the world, but if you don't abide by this graph right here and respect the customer and respect the customer's time interval, you won't sell anything.
Exactly.
You won't sell anything. Right? So people are friendly with you, you feel that. You walk in and all of a sudden everybody lights up. Everybody lights up. When Steven walks in the door and Steven's got some cupcakes or something to give all the ladies in there, they light up. And you feel that. Right? As a sales professional, you know the offices that are going to vibe with you. You feel it. And this here shows that. These people are friendly with me. They like me. Right? But there's another distinction here. The original question was, all right, how do you get people that are friendly, people that like you, people that know your name?
Yeah, respect. I could actually argue that
To respect you.
I think it's more important to be like how they correlate like and friendliness are both like kind of like they aren't the same as respect, because you could like someone or be friendly with someone for a long time, but you don't really respect the person. And when they get to the respect, then it's like, oh, you're getting to close the deal.
How important is culture? I ask it because for instance, I come from Colombia, from a very different, well, to put it in a more simple way, in a country like Colombia, and one day you guys will visit.
I hope so.
Yeah, I've
I
heard
don't know,
that.
people are very warm.
Yeah,
So when you go to a sales meeting, it all starts very warm, you know, a cup of, you want some water, you want some coffee, and how's it been going, et cetera, and then you dive 3-5 minutes later, you dive into the business, and everyone is very friendly. Now, in the US, which I love, by the way, I noticed, and depending on where you go, if you're in the Midwest or in the Southeast or in the West Coast, it all varies, but people are more cold. So how does culture represent, and what does that take for you to earn that relationship?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that cultural differences are abound, and they're always going to be there.
yep,
Whether you're dealing with a doctor who is, like I said earlier, an Egyptian type or a German type, two very distinct personality types. Culturally, some ways that you can combat that. Warm environments are always the great environments to sell in, because it allows you an opportunity to sell. The colder environments I've been in, right? I've only sold in the US for 24 years, so I don't know what a warm environment looks like, right?
right.
So I look at that from my perspective. I carried 4 drugs in the bag in Worcester, Massachusetts when I was 22 years old. Right, so you talk about a cold environment, literally and figuratively. I had to learn on the fly at a very early age what it was like to sell to people in that environment. Would you mind if I just took a couple minutes of your time, you know, just to go over some features and benefits? Hey, let me pick your brain about something. You know, educate me. Can you explain this to me a little bit better? Words matter. And words carry weight, especially if you're in a cold environment. If you're in a warm environment like Bogota, Colombia, and you're sitting there and you're able to vibe with somebody, it's a lot easier to say, hey, do you mind if I get into the sales process? You mind if I get into what I'm here to talk about? We're in the US, you might have to say, again, time and interval, how you earn that respect, how you earn that time is to respect them. Respect their culture, respect the differences that you both represent, right? And it's okay to say, hey, listen, When you're ready, let me know. When you're ready, let me know. If you don't mind, I'd love to keep on calling on you. I'd love to keep on coming into the office because I have something of value. We have an unbelievable product. And when you're ready, I'd love to talk to you about it. And it's okay to be self-deprecating too. Boy, this is a little bit of a different environment than I'm used to. I'm used to selling in South America where it's a lot different. And you might get some questions then and say, hey, tell me a little bit about that.
Mhm. It's the way to melt, it's the way to break the ice.
How would you define the word value? Meaning, because, and you have a lot of experience, but always in sales, in most or in 100 or in 95% of the situations, there has to be a discussion about price and benefits. What am I paying? What am I getting in return? Now, value can be defined in different ways. Value, maybe some people look at it as a cost efficient solution, or some people look at it as a better service, or as if they like you and there's a relationship in between and they can count on you. How would you define that word?
I don't think that you can sit there and take value and say, well, value is defined by one word or one definition. I think you had 3 definitions in there in itself. So value can be defined, right? Oops. Right? So value can be defined as price. There's a way that you can add value in a certain price point, correct? There's a certain way that you can add value as who you are as a representative, who the company represents. Again, remember from an emotive storytelling, right? So think about what value you add to this practice, to this customer, to this transaction. And then finally, what value does the product add? So you said price, product, and person, right? So those are 3 ways that you can distinctly add value, but to put a definite definition on it, that's not on me to define. I think that's on you to define as the sales professional. What value do you add? Does your company add? And does your product add?
I took one word out from the last video you showed from your buddy, options.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting word to put there.
Why?
Because in the world of today, and Nathan is probably in a better field to explain because of what's obviously going on now with the economy and so on. But if you're flexible and you have different solutions, different ways of helping someone, I think it means a lot.
Yeah.
You're more focused on the, let's say, on the pull and on the push. Whether you're pushing something, hey, listen, this has to be this way. If you're not agreeing with it, we cannot do business, but you're going the other way around. You're saying what's important for you, how can I add value to you, and building that up to.
Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, like we've discussed in my class, I'm a huge proponent of this. Why is that important? Because it's not about how we pitch our product, it's about how you make someone feel. People will remember how you make them feel. Again, to harken back to Roger McNamara's words, people will buy from people they trust. Trust, and building that trust, right? Building that respect, building that value, that relationship is about how you make people feel when they come away from a conversation with you. The value that you add, the product line that you have. It's not so much about the product that you pitch. Okay, I'm in a leveraged market, super, super competitive. The margins are so thin, right? Think about it from a dermatological perspective. There's 9 different products that a dermatologist can choose from.
Mhm.
So then when I go into a pitch with one of my representatives, or when I was a representative, ultimately, what does it come down to?
Yourself, the person. It's like the same thing as you go to them and leave the personal letter because that makes you stand out.
It's about you. You're the personal conduct. Now, Price is a little bit different. Because price is very, very black or white.
Right.
Right? If you come in too high, they can always have an objection and say, well, your price is way too high. Coming too low, well, why is your pricing so low? Why is the structure a lot different? So price is a little bit more analogous to define
It's
from a value
better to come in
perspective.
higher than lower.
What's that?
It's better to come in higher than lower, I would say, because
It depends on if you're invoicing somebody from a consulting perspective and you come in way too high, you're probably not gonna get that service. But again, goes back to how do we add value if the price is what it is?
so then it's the same thing as saying, if, when it comes to price, I don't know, I'm just thinking about the same thing as when you're negotiating salary with someone for a job. And they're like, what's your salary? And you hate to cap at a certain number because then you're like capped at that number and you can turn people off or turn them on. So like a good approach would be like, I feel like whatever I'm worth, sort of. Like, I don't want to say a certain number because it's whatever I'm worth. So you know how good your product is. So it's based on whatever they think your product is worth.
True.
I remember in your class, in not the second floor, the first floor, you mentioned, I think it was the first day, that we're always selling.
Always.
So you're with your wife, with your kids, with your customers, with maybe colleagues, maybe when you're buying the coffee, you're always selling yourself to someone. And I think that's very interesting how relating that sentence and that specific concept with this pyramid. Very interesting.
It's the truth. And it's not something that, Jerry Acuff, when he was looking at, how his many years, 30, 40 years in the sales industry, he didn't just come up with this pyramid and say, all right, well, this is some pie in the sky thing. There's statistics and there's people that go behind this. And I love this because at the end of the day, it is so true. You've been on sales calls with people that you don't know, right? You've seen people come to you and they don't have a relationship with you.
Yep.
And it's new, it's awkward. And there's this delicate dance that as sales professionals, we have to do in order to ultimately get people to respect us.
Well, you can't, like my first internship, I interned at a real estate firm and like I had to cold call people and that's useless because it's just like, how do you get yourself out there? You have to explain to people, just hang up the phone. Like,
Right?
yeah.
I mean, that's a cutthroat business, but you have to get people to remain smiling and dialing, right?
Right, yeah.
You have to get people on that phone. That's a tough business to do that. Ultimately, the people that are super successful, can develop this area super quickly.
Right.
Within seconds, nanoseconds, they can develop that. And then they move up to here very quickly. Very quickly. You talk about time and interval. People that are super successful at telephone sales are able to go from 0 to 60 in about 3 seconds.
Now looking back, I feel like the only way that they can go from 0 to 60 is by giving them their elevator pitch, because that actually interests someone. Because if you do something that's like, hey, I call on the phone and they say, oh, I want to talk to you, and like, don't stand out, and people are just gonna hang up the phone. But if you go for your elevator pitch in like 20 seconds to them, it will keep them engaged on the line.
I'm not an expert when it comes to smiling, dialing.
Yeah.
I've never worked in that sphere. I would have to say that if I was on the phone and I had somebody, and I try to talk to every telemarketer that calls my house to hear what the sales pitch is.
Really? Yeah.
Of course, because it's sales, and I get a couple minutes and I let people do their thing.
Yeah.
I want to learn. I want to try to figure out, all right, what's their angle. But the successful people are people that ask you questions, right? They ask you something. For example, I upgraded my Red Sox season tickets 2 years ago, right?
Your value is going down.
I had a woman that called me up the other day and said, hey, I wanted to ask you if you were happy with the selection of your seats. Yeah, I love them. Been there for 2 years. I wanted to upgrade. Well, would you ever consider upgrading again? What are the options? Well, would you ever want to go into the suite or whatever it was?
Yeah.
So they're asking you questions, adding value, building this, right? To get into a relationship or further a relationship, right? So this pyramid also is important because at the end of the day, we can talk about sales methodologies. I love this because it dovetails really well with a sales methodology that's simple. Simple. And I don't know what your sales method is at your company. And I don't know what yours is when you talk to people, but if you look at this right here, okay, what's cool about this pyramid is I look at this here, oops, I'm sorry. You're in the planning phase, right? You're in the planning phase. You're approaching the customer. You're approaching them. They're approaching you. You're getting to know them, right? Dialogue phase. Asking questions, learning about their business. They're learning more about you, and you're learning more about them and their pain points and how best you can serve them. Here, in this phase.
Questioning and listening, you mentioned.
Questioning and listening, right here.
Interesting.
Right? Finding out more about them, finding about their business, asking them questions, 90-10, 90% of them talking, 10% of you talking, right? You have 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason. This is that stage right here. Plan, approach, dialogue. And up here, what do you think you can do at this moment? Where people who value a relationship with you and people who respect you.
You can close there.
Right? What do you think can happen right here?
I would call it build because you can use the word close or you can use the word build. Either you're on you're entering the rocket ship to go to a long trip through space and back, and you're building that relationship for long term, or you're just closing for one time, one-off.
Okay, so I didn't know if you said build or build, but I think they go
Build, yeah.
okay? I think they go hand in hand right here, but yeah, Nathan, you're exactly right. At this particular juncture, this is where you can go into close. So from a sales competency perspective, it dovetails really well with plan, approach, dialogue, close, but then what? Then what?
After close, well, what he was saying, you can build a relationship with them so they can come back.
Okay, but what does that mean? So now you've planned, you've approached, you've done your dialogue, questioning, listening, you've closed,
they
you're
trust you,
building.
trust.
Okay, you've got the trust built up, right? They respect you, they value a relationship with you. Now what? What do you do then? I mean, let's take it as an example. Like, all right, you went through that whole process. You're like, peace out, I'm out of here. We're done. So what's the next step?
That's just the beginning.
Right? So what do you do here? You've done this. What's next?
What I would do in that situation, and I look at it, I relate to my day-to-day. And I say, okay, I'm gonna focus on entering and opening the relationship with one solution or one product. And then I'm gonna really dive deep into the business. Once I have them, once they're as a customer in our system, once we've invoiced, we've showed them, we've serviced them, it's just the beginning because there's many solutions, many services that I can offer.
Would you agree or disagree with Stephen?
No,
You'd agree?
yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to add?
That comes with starting to learn more about them.
Okay.
You start to live, now they know you, now they respect you. Now you have a relationship with them, meaning
They trust you.
they trust you and they are opening themselves on what their other pain points are,
Think it's easier at this point to get back in there and see them now?
Yes,
for sure.
Why?
because you've gone through the whole pyramid.
They
You don't have
like
to
you.
do it again.
They
You don't
trust
have to
you.
do it again because they already have, you got to that level that you don't have to start the process over from that particular person.
So they like you, They value a relationship with you.
Yeah, you could be
You started
humanized.
dating down here, as you said, right?
Yeah.
And now you're in this kind of
You're getting
marriage,
married.
right? Now you're in this marriage. Now you have an opportunity anytime you want to do the last step
Follow up.
in the sales methodology. Plan, approach, dialogue, close, follow-up. It's a perpetual loop. It's a perpetual loop. That's what sales and selling is all about. The methodology should match your relationship building skills. Plan, approach, dialogue, close, follow-up. If you can follow those in any relationship, in any sale, you will be successful.
But you have to know when to follow up and not be a pest.
But again, we talk about, listen, you've said that a couple of times now, but that's all about sales and salespeople knowing emotional intelligence, self-awareness. Checking in is okay. Checking in every day is not okay.
Right.
Checking in every week is probably a little bit more cadence than people would like. Right?
Similar to what I was telling you, that recruiter for like work, she used to call when you're looking for jobs or whatever, but now she's like, oh, well, if I don't hear first, I like to call every month just to see if the person's happy at their job or whatever, but once a month I don't think is that bad. But it becomes a pest if it's like every week, for instance. You're like, why are you calling me?
Yeah. You can't do that.
Right.
Because then what happens is you lose this.
And then the trust, you lose the respect and the trust.
You lose it. And everything that you've worked for, everything that you've hunted for,
So,
everything that you've earned
yeah.
can be lost in a second.
So as Stephen was asking the time, how long do you have, like, when you're talking to your reps, do you like give them like a time, like how long it should take? Obviously, it's not like set, but like,
Well, I wouldn't ask my reps that at all. I think it's appropriate to ask your customers that.
because how do you know if they're
From a
not,
perspective, how often would you like me to follow up with you? What's a good cadence for you? Typically, what I like to do is pop in once a month and see how things are going. If we need to readdress things, if we need to do things a little bit differently, is that okay with you? Do you like other time intervals? Would you like me to be in here more frequently, less frequently? My job is to add value to what you're doing.
But from a perspective that I have, that varies quite significantly if it's a B2B business model versus a direct to consumer, where maybe Nathan is speaking to individuals
right,
that it means everything for them in life to be able to know if at this stage they're going to be able to get the loan, they're going to be able to invest, they're going to be able to have financial opportunity.
Even from an emotional perspective, that plays a huge role. Sorry.
To where I'm speaking maybe with a company that has a certain cadence of product cycle, and they're fine speaking every 2 weeks to follow up on how the quality is, et cetera, et cetera.
Bottom line is you're not going to know that unless you ask them. And again, that puts you out of the like phase into the trust phase. That puts you out of that annoying rep phase or that annoying salesperson phase, and you're addressing it and you're doing it by what their expectations are, not yours.
in my line of work, like I review like the whole package or whatever, and like I underwrite the loan and then I review the loan. But the best lenders are the ones who give me all the information up front. Like if it's an investment property, they give me the whole rent roll, they give me all their financial statements, they give me all the tax return, they give me a profit and loss statement. But if you go back and forth and ask the customer, can I get this? Then they're like, why didn't you ask me before, right? So like one call should get all the whole package together, right? So like I've had issues with some lenders who are like, oh, why do I need this? But I'm like, because it's like needed. And then you go back and the customer doesn't want to. Or for instance, I had to review a credit report for the customer, and right now they don't want to get pinged on their credit. And so they froze their credit report. And then it's like, but I need them to open it. And it's like, they give you like a small time frame to open the credit report. And then you go back, it's like, oh, I need to open it again. And they're like, well, why are you bothering me? Why can't you get this all done right away in the initial instead of going back and forth? Because then they don't trust you anymore. They think you're a clown.
What's one way that you could combat that though?
By what? By,
By what is one way that you can combat that feeling that that person is putting out on you?
by doing it all at once at the beginning,
By doing it all at once at the beginning, what else?
by explaining to them that this is the process.
Okay, so explaining to them meaning what? Meaning, okay, what was the word that we used earlier? CORE.
By communicating.
So your communication and how you communicate that information at the very beginning
Right.
will minimize sales friction,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You vibing with me? Right? So how you communicate all of these things will minimize what we call sales friction. Hey, let me just explain right up front, and I want to be open and transparent with you. My job is to add value to what you're doing. I might have to call you a couple times. And I just want you to know that up front, that as we go through your loan, there might be some additional information that I'm going to need. I don't want to be a pest. I don't want to be overburdensome on you, but I just want to let you know up front that there might be a couple of calls back and forth, and I know it might be annoying at the time, but just trust that I'm doing the job for you.
And you prepare them for it.
Exactly.
Well, that's,
And I'll relate this to my job right now. The process to obtain Cosentix is not the easiest in the world. But what we do and what we coach and what we train our representatives to do is to partner with the biologic coordinators in the office, to partner with the medical assistants in the office and say, hey, listen, in order for your physician to make the most informed decision, you might have to do a prior authorization every 90 days or every 60 days. And I understand that that's not the optimal use of your time, but the patient is going to be covered because they're on a great product. Right? So there's a way that you can combat that off the beginning, and it's all about how we communicate that information up front.
that's true. So it's not necessarily, you're explaining to them and explain how the process is going to go instead of making them feel, why is he doing this? You're wasting my time. But if you say up front, I'm going to be doing this, you prepare them for it.
No surprises.
Right. I'm just
Minimizes sales friction.
So
Right.
yes.
That's the whole purpose.
Questioning and listening.
Yep, questioning and listening.
What are your pain points now? What's important for you?
Yep. Why don't we take a couple minutes? Do you want to take a couple minutes break while Nathan's going to the bathroom?
Yeah, I'll head to the restroom as well.
Okay.
It's good to be back.
Right?
Bentley, man.
We missed you.
Bentley, shit. You know, it sucks that the last three semesters were all online.
Not the previous semester. The two prior to that, yeah.
My last three, all,
Oh, your last three.
yeah, my last three all online.
I couldn't imagine. Honestly. I felt awkward teaching online. I was able to manage it. All right, so the last portion of what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is mindset. Okay, so we can talk all day long about relationship building, about customer interfacing, about product strategy, and all those fun things that we've discussed. But if this isn't right, nothing else will be right. Okay, so when I say the word, and I have to give John Schneider credit for sending this over to me, done a little bit of tweaking.
Is that the guy at the Big Chicken?
That's Josh Halper.
Oh,
John was with him.
Oh,
But I love this in the sense of it not only applies to sports, but it also applies to what we do in business. So when I say this word mindset, what's your definition of mindset?
Optimism, willingness, and execution.
Okay, what about you?
when I think of the word mindset, I think of like how you're going to tackle something.
Be more specific.
Like, what's your approach?
Okay, what's your approach? How are you gonna achieve a task?
Achieve a task.
How optimal or how are you looking at this task with,
But I think it's how you wake up every day. I was speaking to an Uber driver that took me from the airport in New York to home the other day. The guy's from Colombia. He was a business operator in Colombia. Got people in the shop. They stole everything. Then the guy came into the US while COVID, lost 3 of his family relatives due to COVID. He then went to work for construction, fell off of the 4th floor. He was 3 months in the hospital, plus 4 months in a nursery. Then bought a car in New York, started to operate Uber and transportation, got a gun in Queens, got his car stolen, then was able to stand up, get a lease, put a down payment, buy another car, and the guy is now, you listen to his story and his mindset to life, and it's incredible. It's how
all the shit that he's gone through, and he still has a good, a healthy mindset,
smiling every day.
right? So that would be what I would consider this growth mindset, right? Growth versus fixed is something that in the business world, you guys need to get used to hearing, because you'll hear this, well, what's a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset? We can define these two things any way we want when we're talking about mindset. Growth mindset obviously is somebody that's consuming knowledge, that's learning, that asks questions, that seeks out mentorship, right? That's a growth mindset. Fixed mindset is somebody that goes into any sort of sales process or any sort of product strategy and says, this is the way it's going to be done.
So fixed is someone who's not flexible, and growth is someone who can be flexible about it.
Easiest way to define it. Now, inside of these, there's positivity, which Stephen just described, but there's also negativity. And that creeps into everything that we do. And the reason why mindset is so vitally important and why this is applicable to what we're talking about today is because if this isn't right, how does that come across to your customers? If this isn't right with you, or the whole karma isn't right with you, how does that come across to your customers, to your people that are sitting across from you, asking you questions?
They'll be able to notice it.
Okay, they'll be able to notice it. People notice when the mindset is not right. So what I want you to do real quick is write down a couple of goals that you want to achieve this week coming up.
Just this week.
Just this week coming up. I don't want you to do a longer view. I want to know it could be as small or as large as you want. Starting on Monday morning, when I get out of bed, I'm going to do this for the week. 2 goals that you want to accomplish this week.
That's a good one, huh?
But
Quick,
yeah,
right? Stephen, you good?
Good.
Awesome. So think about it from this perspective, right? Goal setting goes towards mindset, right? It goes towards that growth mindset. Goals equal growth. What happens if you don't set goals?
you don't have a mindset.
Well,
You
it's not that you don't have a
You
mindset.
don't have something to focus on.
All right. So you talked about focus last week in our one-on-one, right? So focus is key. Do you write down goals each week?
No.
You should. So we talk about mindset being goal-oriented, but it's also formulating habits of success.
Action and planning. How am I going to achieve them? And execution.
Okay, action, planning, execution. If you fly blind into whatever you're doing, if you don't have actionable goals, if you don't have a habit of success, you can't be successful. So every week, you should even do one goal that you want to accomplish each week. What is that one thing that you want to do this week? It could be, I want to smile in gratitude every day this week. It could be as small as that. It could be, I want to introduce myself to more people at work this week. It could be, I want to show my team appreciation for who they are as individuals this week. I want to show them by doing. I want to show them by other ways, right? So goals don't have to be large goals that you think are pie in the sky. It can be as simple as, I want to reach out to one person and say, hey, you're valued, right? So goals can be defined however you want to define them. Most important thing in that is that your mindset matches what those goals are. That you really feel in your heart of hearts that this is a growth mindset and that you can accomplish these goals. Now, we'll get to those in a second, all right? So when we look at math, it plays a major role as far as what goals are. Why?
I think the last one's wrong.
Huh?
9 times 8 is 72.
So we always focus on the negative. We always stray to the negative and the negativity associated with mindset. Now, you didn't mention that this was right. You didn't mention that that was right. You didn't mention that that one was right, or that one, or that one, or that one, or that one.
Right.
You immediately picked out that this was wrong.
Yeah.
And as humans, that's what we do. We immediately focus on what's wrong instead of thinking about what's right.
Right.
That permeates our mindset in different ways. Now, we're sitting here at Bentley University in a beautiful, beautiful, opulent university, right? Great rooms and whatnot. But I would suggest and contend that our mindset hasn't strayed from back when the cavemen were in caves.
Mhm.
Why?
Because we still look at what's negative and we make negative more, we care about the negativity than the
Okay,
positivity.
but you have to think about this from a sales perspective. If you're going into a customer and immediately you look at this and not all those, how does that displace you amongst your customer?
Never gonna forget about that wrong thing.
Okay, never going to forget about that wrong thing. It's going to permeate your thoughts. What else?
You're not driving confidence.
Okay, you're not driving confidence. You're always going to be thinking about this thing here. There's a lot of permutations that can happen if we don't focus on that portion of our mindset. Okay? And like I said to you before, not much has changed since 6000 BC when these guys roamed the earth. The reason why they're called cavemen is because they were afraid to go outside of their caves. Now, if you go outside of your cave, there's a whole world that you guys can go and you can explore. And yet these guys felt the need to stay inside this cave this whole time. Why?
They feel comfortable.
They felt comfortable. What else?
They knew that was, they were. They were afraid of what was outside of the
Okay,
cave.
so they were afraid of what was outside. They were comfortable being in the cave. Right? Do you guys ever feel that way? That comfort
Yeah,
is easiest course than what?
yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
So not much has changed. And a matter of fact, this right here is very, very important.
Yep.
And the reason why they were afraid to go outside and forage is because they knew that this represented survival. This represented survival for them. Outside of the cave, they could have had carrots. They could have had food.
They thought of the negativity, but they didn't think of the positivity.
Correct. If I go outside, something negative might happen.
Yeah.
In here, I'm safe. In here, I have fire, I have survival, I'm comfortable. What mindset do you think this is?
This is a fixed mindset.
Stephen?
Fixed 100%.
Okay, so cavemen had a fixed mindset. Now, again, today, we're operating under the same mindset.
Yep.
We're operating under the same approach. And I would say most decisions in life are not life or death. We might not make the sale. I might strike out in a ball game, but our minds think that this is life and death. That if I don't sell enough textiles, I'm not going to make the sale. I'm done.
Right.
Again, goes towards fixed mindset. How then do we make this into a growth mindset? What are some small ways that we, as sales professionals, as individuals, as business owners, as business operators, can tell our folks, hey, listen, the old way of doing things still permeates, but there's another way that we can look at things. And think about it from your customer's perspective. They're expecting you to go in there with a different level mindset. They're expecting you to be solution-oriented problem solvers. Not these folks that are looking at their problems and saying, oh, here's the issue. Can't fix it. Now, what I want you guys to do real quick is I want you to humor me. All right, I want you to humor me with this. I want you to count. Let me see if the lights go off here. Okay, perfect. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to focus here. Okay, and I want you guys to count how many balls go up in the air.
This is a test of selective attention.
I think I've seen this.
Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball. How many passes did you count?
How many did you count?
19.
19? You've already seen this?
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's about the same. So you counted 19. Let's see what the correct answer is. I can't leave you hanging.
The correct answer is 15 passes.
Okay. So you were 4 off. How are you 4 off?
The monkey came this track.
How are you 4 off?
I saw, I don't know if I confused some of the dribbles with passings
Okay.
because of people crossing around.
All right.
Passes. But did you see the gorilla? This video is from research by Daniel Simons and Christopher Shabri.
Did you see that gorilla in the?
I didn't see it.
Oh, yeah. I saw this in psych class in high school.
I didn't see the gorilla.
So while our brains might process everything our eyes see, the mind might never become aware of it. Think about it from a customer perspective. If you're not able to see the gorilla when you're in front of your customers, you're done. You're done. Your focus, as we talked about, and your attention are the keys to the information processing that filters what goes on in the conscious mind. We as sales professionals have to see this gorilla. Have to see it. We have to train ourselves that although this is what we're told to look for, that we have to see the gorilla. We have to supremely focus on what we don't see. And our mindset has to be there so that way when we focus, we can see what this gorilla is, what the objection is, what the customer is feeling, what the customer is thinking. So therefore, what we saw earlier, a negative bias is really a negative attention bias. And what I mean by a negative attention bias is where we focus on the negative as focused on the positive. We focused on that one small thing as opposed to focusing on all the good that happens, on all the right information that we had in front of us. Right? Our mindset and our focus has to be supremely focused on what that gorilla is and where that gorilla is, right? If you miss those opportunities, and if you focus on only the negative, you're going to miss your sale. You're going to miss the opportunity to
So
sell.
does that make me a negative person if I notice the wrong math right away? Or does it just make
I don't
me
think it means that you're a negative person.
like negative
I think-
optimist, like
I think that your eyes immediately and your
Went to the
reaction was
negativity.
immediately to go to the negative
right,
and say, well, you got that one wrong.
right,
That's what this is all about.
right.
So if you're in front of a customer and you have this negativity bias, what immediately is your mind going to go towards? It's going to go towards comfortability. It's going to go towards, I'm not comfortable. I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to push the envelope. My mindset isn't going to be right. I'm going to focus on all the things like this. Oh shit, this is life or death. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Well, going back to the numbers, you might look at it as a perspective that you have a mindset of wanting to strive for greatness and doing everything correctly. And if something's not right, you want to fix that. Maybe that was more or less your call, not necessarily focusing on or converting what's wrong to making it right.
Yep. And I wouldn't say that that's wrong. I would contend that that could be an option, but it's interesting to note that over the years, more people tend to focus on this.
Right.
Now, he could have said, hey, listen, I think that we can make this right. Or there were words that Nathan could have said to say, hey, have you checked your math? Instead of saying, I think that that's 9 times 8 is 72, it's wrong. Or saying to a customer, you're not right. You're wrong. We do this and this and this, you don't see the value.
And a simple question now is you're going to a customer and hey Zev, how do you see the economy? And you might enter with a negative thought and be fully out, or you might focus on the positive aspects of what's going on in the US. Might leave the customer with a great sense of investing, buying, building, growing. So the optimism behind is super important.
The US economy has operated for many, many years like a carousel, like a roller coaster.
It's called, that cycle is called something, but I can't remember the business terminology. Oh, or something cycle. It's like a roller coaster.
So you got to know that. And it's okay to verbalize that to your folks.
It's a wave.
Yeah, it's a wave. It's a perpetual wave.
Yeah.
And that's something that it's okay to talk about and say, hey, listen, we're in this down cycle right now. Couple things change here and there. That economy will be boosting again like it was in 2016, like it was for the 4 years before regulations and all these other things kicked in, right? It goes up and it goes down, like anything, like sales. Sales goes up and it goes down, right? 4 real world strategies, say that, it's a tongue twister, that can help combat these negative thoughts. Number 1, practice makes permanent. Is that true?
Absolutely.
You believe that?
You go back to the first slide, athletes. You go to the slide of the athletes and sports.
So
No practice, no success. Michael Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, Brady, all those guys.
one of the best things I've heard,
It's not easy, but through practice and practice and practice, practice makes what? Absolutely not. Dismantle that belief system. Practice makes improvement. You can always better your best. You can always go beyond anything that you have ever done. You never hit a state of perfection. You're always bigger than what you do. And so all you're looking for are new breakthroughs through practice and practice and practice. You'll get better and better and better. It's not easy.
so practice makes improvement.
You can always better your best.
Always better your best.
It's a good one.
And there's always somebody out there that's trying to better your best.
Unless
So
you
from
ask AI.
a competitor's perspective, there's always somebody out there that's nipping at you. That's looking to see, all right, what's Nathan doing? What's Steven doing? How can I take some of the market share that you've gained? How can I take some of those relationships that you've gained, that you've gone up that pyramid? How can I then take some of those away? So 4 strategies here. Practice makes permanent. We'll go into these. Control your controllables. Positivity bias, and then what I like to call, or what John called, neurolinguistic programming. Now, a little bit more intricate from a sales perspective, but there is something to be said. So practice. Thoughts, positivity thoughts, write goals down every single week.
Or day.
Or day, whatever cadence you want. If you write it down, it's like Malcolm Gladwell said, it's the rule of 10,000 hours. The more you do something, the better off you are at it.
100%.
The more you read, the more you learn, the more you structure, the more you practice, the better off you're going to be. Same thing from a sales and a selling perspective. I practice my pitch all the time. I practice what I'm going to say in front of my physicians all the time. I practice what I'm going to say when I'm having courageous conversations. I'm not too old to show you guys and say, hey, listen, when I was away in Denver, I role played. Courageous conversations. 45 years old. And when I go away to Denver, or when I go away on work functions, they have us practice. Because at the end of the day, we can always better what we're doing. We can always better our best. Practice makes perfect. Practice makes improvement. All right?
Unless you ask Allen Iverson.
Right? Control your controllables. I have that thing that I do with the baseball bat. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but think about it, what you can focus on and what you don't want to focus on. How can you control your controllables? Do all of these things right here. Think about it from a fixed and a growth mindset perspective. Right? These are things that we should be doing, and your reps should be doing every day, that you should be doing every day. Things that we take for granted, that the top 1% of sales professionals do all the time. All the time. Non-negotiables. There's a slide for you to take back to your team and say, hey, listen, I did a 2-hour sales training, sales coaching class. This is it. These are minimum expectations that you as a leader should expect from your team right here. Because if these are all there with your team, the mindset will be right. The positivity bias will be right. Change your perspective. Instead of looking at things this way, look at things this way. Change your perspective on how you view life, how you view customers, how you view interactions, how you view sales, how you view what you do, how you communicate that to people. Change your perspective, which we've been so ingrained for since this time. Right? The way you do that is you practice it. You show people differently. You control your controllables. Instead of using I can't, I won't, I shouldn't, you use I can, I will. I have a rule in my house, and I got this from Casey Jacob. So if Casey sees this, I want to give him credit because he coached me. He says to me, I want to write a book. I want to write a sales book. I have a lot of information. I'd love to write a sales book and give my love of sales to people. But I said, Casey, I can't, I don't even know where to start. He goes, first of all, you just did the ultimate thing that I can't stand from a coaching perspective. I said, what? He goes, you use the two words that should never be used. I can't. He goes, instead of using I can't in anything, replace those words with I will. I will. I will write a book. I will go to see this customer. I will give these people the best rates possible. I will develop the best textile company which is so sustainable in the industry. I will have the best, most optimal team. Those are slight things that you can change. Always think about what you can do to get better every single day, what that looks like. Finally, why is this important? You a sports guy? You a sports guy? What's your favorite team of all time?
Celtics.
Okay, what team in particular of the Celtics?
2008.
Okay, 2008. There was a word.
Ubuntu.
What was your favorite team of all time?
Liverpool.
Liverpool. Soccer. Any team in particular that was better than the other? Any year was better than the other?
I would say the last 3 years with Klopp on board.
With Salah, right?
Soccer.
With Salah and last 3 years of Liverpool. Not this year, last 3 years.
I'm not a soccer guy, but think about it from this perspective. Think about it from this perspective. The successful teams, the successful people. You remember the 08 Celtics because of their chemistry, because of that word, which means together. Ubuntu was something of a rallying cry for that team that to this day we still remember. One word when you talk about team chemistry. My favorite team was the 04 Red Sox. First team to win the World Series in 86 years. And the reason why was because they had this.
Yep.
They had this. They had such a close team chemistry.
And the idiots.
From the band of idiots, from Johnny Damon's beard all the way to Kurt Schilling's bloody sock. They had this. Liverpool, the last 3 years, I'm sure you were drawn to them, not just because of a great soccer team, but because that team embodied what this is.
I'm sure you guys watch Lasso, Ted Lasso. You've seen the show with the soccer show with Jason Sudeikis on Apple TV.
I haven't seen the show.
Oh, you should watch it. It's like a light show, but they all are under respect is the key thing that they touch before every game.
Chemistry matters. And the reason why is they call this like the neurolinguistic approach. Now, I'm not a scientist. I am not a neurologist. But I know that in each one of our brains, there's certain chemicals that drive emotion.
Endorphin.
Right? I know that there's cortisol. I know that there's serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine. I know that those three things right there drive how we feel and how we interact with people. I know that these here drive positivity. You know what the most important thing is in order to drive positivity?
Energy.
Energy. What else?
I would say who you surround with.
Your mindset. Humor.
Laughing. Gratitude. Humor. Smiling. All drives up energy, drives up endorphins, drives up this positivity, this positive mindset. Share that with your teams, share that with your customers. Smile more. HAG, have an attitude of gratitude. Say thank you. Send thank you notes. Make people feel like they are the most important people in the planet. As Sal Lupoli said in my class about a month ago, make people fall in love with you. You want them to write their name, your name, in their hearts.
That's the same thing as when you start the day and you say good morning to the person, but you say good morning to them directly to say their name, like good morning, I don't know, I work with someone named Liz, or I say, hope you have a great weekend, Liz, like you make it seem like you're personable to them.
And everything's personal. Everything that we do is personal, right? Have an attitude of gratitude. If you want to drive this and drive chemistry with your team in particular, and we talked about this weeks ago, smile. Show them that you love them, and they will love you back. Same thing with your customers. This drives how we talk and how we communicate. Self-deprecating humor. I use it all the time. Bald-headed, bearded guy going into dermatology practices. I use it with my students all the time, right? Humor drives emotion, drives positivity, smiling. Vitally important. If you don't have this, if you have dysfunction with your team, this is what can happen.
The opposite of the pyramid.
Right, exactly. Distrust, conflict, lack of commitment, accountability, lack of results. We've all been there. I've seen reps that are just like this, right? So these are the brain chemicals that you can combat that with. Oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, endorphin, all of these things right here can drive better results, better accountability, better trust, right? This is what leads to great sales reps. This is what I contend right here leads to the top 1%ers. Oops, top 1%ers. These are the people right here that win awards. Those are the people constantly are up on stage. Not many times I see a tense, nervous, stressed, upset, sad, depressed, lethargic, and fatigued person winning awards at a sales conference.
Never.
Just saying. Right? So think about you.
Well, that's why you ask sometimes before the class, what is your mindset right now? Like, how are you feeling?
What are your top 5 feelings that you're feeling right now?
Right, exactly.
Right?
That's what you ask, yeah.
Because if your mindset's not right,
Then
then
you're
we
gonna have a
can't be
negative.
right when we're talking for an hour on Zoom or when we're doing something like this.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not excited, if you're not feeling it, then it's not going to come out. Then I'm just wasting my time and you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
Right? So think about it from this perspective. You who lead teams and you who are interfacing with people and customers, this is the side you have to be at. You want to get up that pyramid to where people like you, respect you, and trust you. This quadrant is where you need to be. Make sense? So go back to your goals. Go back to your goals. What were your 2 goals that you listed?
On Monday morning, I'm heading to Milwaukee and then later in the week to Chicago, visiting all new prospective accounts, going with all the energy to have an opportunity to build and close business, and more than that, to help them and to drive growth in their growth and success in their businesses. That's one of the goals. The second goal is to launch an e-commerce that we've been building for our business and launch it on Friday. As the team is wrapping up, we're doing some final adjustments. The second goal is to launch it and to push it into the market.
Huge goals. Huge goals. I want to know how Friday goes. I wish you nothing but success, right?
Thank you.
I
Thank
wish
you.
you
Thank
nothing
you.
but success in that. What were your 2 goals?
So my goal was, one of them was more just like, I'm trying to go to bed before midnight every night, because I sometimes go to bed late and it's not productive towards my day. Like, I need to sleep my 7 hours, I feel like. And then another goal is, we have a similar thing that we're launching a new type of lending platform. And we're launching it like next week, and I've been a big part of working on it. So I need to make sure that everything, I have a meeting with the CEO and with the CFO, and I have like a plan to explain to them how we're going to start with the introduction to the process to our customers.
Got it. Huge. Huge. All right. Good luck this week.
Yeah.
All right. So make sure when you guys write goals down, they're smart. Right? I'm sure you guys have heard this acronym before: specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time bound. Like, you got a goal for Friday, right? I'm sure that this has been in the works for a long time. Make sure that you follow this format, right? Because otherwise goals just go out there in the air. If you say that this is, I want to go to sleep and I want to sleep 7 hours, it starts tonight.
Right, yeah.
It starts tonight. I want to win President's Club and be up on the stage next year. But there are micro goals that I need to achieve in order to do that. And that I need to get my reps where they need to be up on stage. Right? And there are certain goals that I have to do in order to get them where they need to go. Specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time bound. Finally, all right, after today, like you said, start with a goal a day.
You'll send us the slides, right?
These are proprietary, but I will, right?
I
Think
will.
Yeah, think about how you practice positive behaviors in your routine. What does that look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? How does it come across to your customers? How do you develop those necessary steps to get up that ladder? To get up that pyramid to where they like you and respect you and want to do a business transaction with you. Practice your weaknesses, control your controllables, and use these endorphins as we talked about. Smile more. Be present. Laugh. Don't take life so seriously. We only get one chance to go around this. We might as well make it what it is. Have fun doing it. We're in sales. We sell every day. It's such a great opportunity to be in front of people every single day. So that is what I would say is your action plan going forward. Questions, comments, concerns?